Welcome back to Recap Spot. Today we'll be going over the 2016 monster movie, Shin Godzilla. The film opens with a recreational boat being found in Tokyo Bay with all of its passengers missing. The Coast Guard investigates the boat, but they only find a mysterious document and some origami. Suddenly, an underwater explosion happens near the boat, and large amounts of blood begin flooding an underground tunnel and leaking into the water around the boat. The Deputy Chief Cabinet Secretary is informed about the leak in the underground tunnel, and he joins the other government officials in a large conference. No one is able to figure out what caused the explosion, so the government begins focusing on evacuating people from the tunnel as quickly as possible. We see footage recorded by the people evacuating, and they begin to hear loud noises and see what looks like a large creature moving through the water. Yaguchi sees these recordings online and tries to bring it up to the Prime Minister during a briefing, but he's told that no creature could withstand the temperatures in the ocean after the explosion. Yaguchi is later proven right, however, as another government meeting gets interrupted when live footage of the creature is aired over the news. Several expert biologists are brought in to try and determine what species the creature could be, but none of them are able to figure anything out, and the Prime Minister demands that they bring in someone new. The creature is then shown swimming through the Tama River and into a canal, destroying boats and bridges as it makes its way deeper into the city. Hiromi Ogashira, the Deputy Chief of the Wildlife Division, is called in to review the footage, and she determines that the creature has legs that might enable it to come on land. The other officials in the room quickly shoot her down and say that the creature's legs are probably underdeveloped and incapable of holding up its own weight. The Prime Minister is then advised to give a press conference to calm the public down, and he's asked to only give out verified information. We see the Prime Minister giving his press conference, and he assures everyone that the creature's legs have degenerated, so there's no worry of it coming on land. The Prime Minister is then interrupted and informed that the creature has in fact come on land. We then see people running through the streets as the creature approaches. Blood is shown spilling from the creature's gills as it struggles to breathe outside of the water. Another press conference is soon held, urging people to evacuate as the city gets destroyed. The creature appears to be moving very slowly for its size, but the officials determine that it could almost completely wreck Tokyo in a matter of hours. The officials argue over what they should do, with some wanting to immediately attack the creature with military force, and others saying that they need to focus on evacuating citizens. They decide to focus on evacuations, but evacuating such a large amount of people in such a short amount of time is seen as impossible. The creature climbs over buildings in its way, completely crushing them and killing anyone in its path. The governor of Tokyo enlists the help of the self-defense force in order to stop the monster. However, the order must be approved by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is eventually persuaded and agrees to send in helicopters to drop missiles on the creature and some ground troops to assist with evacuations. Suddenly, the creature stops moving and collapses in the street. The officials are confused at what's happening, and we see the creature suddenly evolve and double its size before walking on its hind legs. The helicopters prepare to attack the creature, since the evacuation is complete. However, the pilots notice more people on the ground still evacuating, and the Prime Minister orders them to retreat. The creature then moves at full speed and goes back into the Tokyo Bay. The officials investigate the ruins of the city as helicopters try to find the creature's location in the water, but they aren't successful. The general begins working with the Prime Minister to prepare for the next time the creature emerges. The military comes up with a plan to use tanks, artillery, and airstrikes to fight the creature next time it's spotted. Meanwhile, Yaguchi is tasked with picking a team to come up with countermeasures against the creature. The scientists are able to figure out that the creature is using radiation to undergo nuclear fission and evolve. The scientists are happy to have figured the creature out, but soon realize the citizens are in danger of radiation poisoning due to how much radiation the creature is putting off. Yaguchi is then brought into a meeting with Kayoko, an aide representing the President of the United States. She tells Yaguchi that there was a professor named Goro Maki who predicted the creature's existence, and she asks the government officials to find him. It's then revealed that he was the owner of the mysterious boat shown at the beginning of the film. Kayoko shares some of the professor's documents, and it's revealed that he named the creature Godzilla. The documents also show that people were dumping radioactive materials into the ocean where the creature was living, and accidentally caused it to evolve. Kayoko also shows them a large diagram from the professor, but no one is able to figure out what it means. They suspect that the diagram holds the key to stopping the creature, and Yaguchi's team is tasked with deciphering its meaning. The team analyzes samples from the creature's destruction and notices that it contains elements that can't be found on the periodic table. The scientists determine that the creature's blood must act as a coolant for its radiation, explaining why it went back into the ocean the last time it evolved. They then decide that they must force the creature to use its nuclear energy and then inject it with coagulators that cause the creature's own blood to freeze it alive. The team is soon informed that Godzilla has once again emerged, but has evolved to have tougher skin and a deadly tail that can be used as a weapon, and it's also significantly larger than before. Godzilla begins destroying everything in its path, and the officials are able to determine that it seems to be headed for Tokyo. With Yaguchi's team still working on their plan, the Prime Minister decides to use the military to try and take the creature down. Helicopters are sent after Godzilla, however their bullets seem to just bounce off of its new armored skin. They swap to heavier missiles, but Godzilla is still completely unharmed. Tanks then begin firing at the creature's legs, eventually being able to slow it down as it approaches a bridge. After dropping bombs on Godzilla's head, the creature starts to alter its path, but not before ripping the bridge apart and throwing it at the tanks. With no other choice as the creature continues to threaten Tokyo, the government decides to ask the United States for help. The US sends stealth bombers to assist, but the officials realize that the bombs from the American planes will cause more damage than Godzilla. They begin ushering people underground to shield them from the incoming bombs, and the government officials also begin to evacuate since they're not confident the Americans will be able to stop Godzilla. When the bombs finally do hit the creature, they manage to pierce its skin and cause huge explosions of blood. Godzilla then begins glowing purple and breathing flames that completely engulf the city. Eventually, the flames are focused into a plasma beam that destroys one of the planes. The rest of the planes are then destroyed when Godzilla shoots plasma beams out of its back. Godzilla then fires another large beam and slices all of the city's buildings in half. The beam also destroys the helicopter holding the Prime Minister, killing him. After using so much energy to wreak havoc, the creature is forced to hibernate in the middle of the city to recover. Yaguchi is unwilling to give up, but the government is in complete disarray after losing the Prime Minister, as well as several other high-ranking officials. Yaguchi's team gets back to work and begins collecting different coagulants and testing them on DNA samples from Godzilla. The Americans demand to help, and it's revealed from their own samples that the creature can reproduce asexually and could spread across the planet. The US Defense Secretary orders a thermonuclear strike against Godzilla since the creature poses a global threat if left alive, and the United Nations have agreed. The UN agrees to hold off the bomb long enough to evacuate citizens, and Yaguchi still believes that his team's plan could stop the creature without destroying the city in the process, as a nuke would. Yaguchi's team works around the clock to get the massive amount of materials they need for their plan. However, they're still struggling to decode what the professor's diagram means. One of the scientists eventually figures out the connection between the diagram and the origami piece that was found with it, and he realizes that the diagram is supposed to be 3D. He folds it up like origami, and the diagram then shows that the monster is able to convert water and air into energy, and it never needed the nuclear waste for fuel. The team worries that this may mean their plan won't work against the creature. However, with help from some other countries, they're able to decipher Godzilla's DNA and adjust their plan. Kyoko meets with a US government official and learns that some of the other countries want to ignore the evacuation and launch the nuclear bomb now. Kyoko decides to stay with Yaguchi and his team and help supply them with materials and weapons from the US. On the final day, before the countdown to the bomb runs out, Yaguchi's team moves out to put their plan in action. Unmanned trains armed with explosives are sent hurtling towards Godzilla's legs, awakening it from hibernation. Drones are then sent out to drop bombs, which causes Godzilla to expend vast amounts of energy in order to take the drones out with its lasers. Eventually, Godzilla uses a beam from its mouth and tail to destroy more and more of the city. However, it quickly runs out of energy for the plasma beam and is forced to swap to flames. The buildings around the creature are then detonated, and the rubble from the explosions begins pelting Godzilla. Godzilla eventually is knocked unconscious from the debris, and Yaguchi's team moves into place to fill the creature with coagulant. However, Godzilla regains consciousness after only 20% of the coagulant was injected, and it fires off a plasma beam in anger. Several more explosive trains are sent out to subdue the creature again, and it's eventually knocked to the floor once more. More trucks show up and begin injecting the coagulant, and eventually they're able to use 100% of the coagulant for their plan. Godzilla slowly begins moving again and destroys the trucks as it stands up. The creature tries to fire off another attack, but it ends up getting completely frozen as its core temperature dropped to -196 degrees. Everyone celebrates as Godzilla has been stopped, and they soon discover that its isotope only has a half-life of 20 days, so the citizens can return to their homes sooner than expected. Yaguchi decides to share all of the data they gathered with other countries, and hopes that it can be used to help all of humanity. We then see a close-up of Godzilla, and it's revealed that as it was frozen, it was trying to evolve into humanoid creatures, since it realized how strong humans actually are.